In the summer of '86, Coburn sold Megadeth's contract to Capitol Records.
We recently made a pretty large step in life. We're now on a label called Capitol. Thanks to everybody out here that's been supporting us.
That November, the new label released Megadeth's follow-up album. Peace Sells, But Who's Buying was a quantum leap, both in terms of its quality and its complexity.
What do you mean I could be the president of the United States of America? Tell me something. It's still we, the people, right?
I think the thing that separated Megadeth from a lot of the other heavy metal bands was that it wasn't just, let's see how fast we can play and let's see how many demons and devils we can sing about. Dave Mustaine liked to really write about lyrics that meant something.
I was like a really big fan of Peace Sells. The second record I thought was an awesome heavy metal record at that time. And I listened to it a lot. And even though I certainly didn't tell anybody at the time, I was, I guess, secretly kind of proud of the work that he'd done because he had stepped up to the plate.
Peace Sells did sell. Audiences ate up the record critics call classic thrash metal, and it quickly moved 500,000 copies. But that didn't make Dave or the band any happier.
We were starting to become more reclusive, and in fact, there was a lot of infighting starting to happen in the band.
The song would end, and then, you know, Gar would throw a drumstick at Dave and hit him in the back of the head.
I swear to God, it was like Fight Club.
I don't know if this happens in other rock bands, but they were just literally, like, trying to kill each other, you know?
Me and Dave got in the biggest fight ever. Broke the toilet off the floor in the bathroom and then went out into the other room and smashed the headboard through the wall.
The room would be destroyed, you know, and it was like, you'd come in and you'd go, well, how did the bed break in half? You know, the bed just doesn't break in half, you know? And they're like, I don't know, you know, fuck it, you know, just get another bed in here, you know?
I used to love when the managers would just walk. The road managers would walk. Scott would never walk. You know what? Now to think about it, if anybody suffered, he did. Because he had to, like, you know, every little thing, every room destroyed. God, he had to take care of all of that.
In the winter of '86, Megadeth was hired to open for Alice Cooper on a lengthy concert tour. Even rock's resident bad boy was stunned by Megadeth's partying habits, so much so that he summoned them to his bus one night.
So we kind of like, you know, sober up a little bit and no, hey, we're going to Alice's bus, man. We gotta like keep it down.
Basically on a level of just telling him, look, I've done it all. I've seen it all. It doesn't work. You cannot, especially a show with your intensity. You're gonna burn right out.
The last thing he said was you guys be careful out here. And we were just like, what's he talking about? You know?
Cooper's words fell on deaf ears, and Megadeth's hardcore habits began to affect their performance on stage, especially when it was difficult to get heroin, and they were in need of a fix.
Sometimes it showed up, and when it did, the shows were good, and when it didn't, the shows really sucked.
But as far as, like, us being too high or too drunk to play, it happened. It was hard to go up on stage if you were sick and have to drink it away. And then you had to find that point where you wouldn't be too drunk to play, you know, so it was kind of like, almost like a science, I guess, I don't know. But when we were on, no one could touch us at what we did.
The band ignored repeated pleas from friends to slow down. But after years of hardcore drug abuse, Dave Mustaine was beginning to crack up.
You know, he literally lost his mind, where he was saying to me, Scott, you have to, you know, you gotta check out my arm right here. There's something moving underneath there. And he's like, they're all over me, you know, their bugs are all over me, they're crawling all over me, you know, and I had never experienced anything like that, seen anybody in such bad shape.
He would go into these, like, total personality changes and either go really violent or, you know, be super nice. You know, so it was always kind of like, which Dave are we gonna get tonight?
Chris and Gar weren't doing much better. Looking to increase their already prodigious drug intake, they asked Dave, the group's sole songwriter, for an increased share of Megadeth's profits. When Dave refused, Chris started pawning the band's gear to feed his growing habit.
Almost every week I would go to rehearsal and some of Gar's cymbals were gone because he'd hawk it for dope, or some of my guitars were gone because Chris Poland would hawk my guitars for dope.
Sometimes When you're short of cash, like my whole back line was gone one year. You know, I mean, I was crazy. I remember our manager, he goes, "Your stuff's where?" I pawned it all, man. And they'd go, "All right," and they had to go down. It'd be like, and they'd go to this pawn shop and it'd be like 2 whole stacks, 4 heads. The guy at the pawn shop would be like, "Damn it."
I was a drug addict, man. It's not something I'm proud of, and I can look back and laugh now, and I'm lucky I can, you know?
We just realized it was done. It wasn't gonna work with those 2 in the band anymore.
To tell you the truth, I was like, whew, you know?
Chris and Gar were fired, and soon longtime road manager Scott Menzies walked away on his own, unwilling to witness Dave's demise.
I figured Dave would just die. That would be it, you know, and I didn't want to be there to see that.
Next, Mustaine and Ellefson bottom out.
We're 4 albums into Megadeth's career and didn't have a dime to my name.
And later, Megadeth loses a member of the family.
I pretty much came to the conclusion that the music world had lost a true giant.